I grew up in Seattle in the mid-90s. There were 5.5 billion people on Earth. That may seem like an unremarkable statement, which it kinda is. What stands out is that I'm indigenous. I'm Snoqualmie. My tribe is a neighboring tribe to the Duwamish, who existed way before his city was even here. It's safe to say that there were about 4,000 Native Americans in the city. So that's really the nature of this video, to add meaning to the greater Seattle area. I am an urban native that adds to the depth of this city. I'm just some guy who grew up here, saying my piece. I'll be taking small bits and pieces from my lifetime and slapping it all together. I'm not the main ingredient, I'm seasoning. Take my words with a grain of salt and use it to add flavor. I'm an improbable anomaly, considering the population decline of my people. We were almost erased completely. My mom tried to raise me out of the city, but my dad died. That eventually forced my mom to move back to Seattle on Christmas Eve of 1994. I moved from the Canadian mountaintops right after my mom regained custody of me. It seems like drastic change has always been a major role in my life. I grew up dirt poor. I wear it like a badge of honor. I don't think I'd be as introspective if I was able to afford things to distract me. It took me a few years to get the hang of disappearing in plain sight. I was a nobody, not even worth bothering. And that's the way I liked it. The bus window allowed me to channel surf the current events at that time. I watched the city both be changed and bring change. Seattle still had a buzz about the grunge era and mentions of a singer named Kurt Cobain. His voice haunted me with some type of ancient wisdom. I guess I identified with his views. My personal perception of the guy was that he was shaped by a deep sense of individualism and a disdain for the commercialization of art and music. As a Native American, I feel set apart from a country that my culture is older than. I think that's why he resonated with me in my childhood. I had no real authentic mainstream representation of my native identity that also incorporated the dichotomy of wealth versus poverty. I love my traditional medicine, but it's kind of hard to stay focused on that when surrounded by an urban environment. Somehow that translated to identifying with individuals that felt disconnected from the society they lived in. I've always felt alienated by the commercialization of patriotism. Liberty and freedom have always rubbed me the wrong way when history says otherwise. Kurt Cobain felt like a leader, regardless of his absence. He was my Wes Studi. It took me a while to realize why Seattle always seemed to reflect the bigger picture of the American market. As a significant contributor to the American market, it is a main artery to the rest of the nation. Beyond grunge, Seattle never really seemed to have sway over fashion trends. But it was a powerhouse when referring to technological diffusion and innovation influence. A lot of products here were eventually showcased in the average consumer's home. These gadgets were never something I could afford, but I was definitely aware of the business structures taking root here and shaping the way that people absorbed society. The drug addicts, refugees, and I all watched out the bus window at a demographic too rich to care. That really sets the stage for me. An impoverished natural inhabitant of this land amongst the broader social and economic challenges that surrounded my personal struggles. I reflect the historical and cultural context of the mid-90s while also opposing that historical and cultural context by my mere existence alone. I don't want to entirely fit in. If Seattle's taught me anything, it's to fit in just enough to be left alone. Yet there is something more. I find it a great honor to be a part of this process where I am merely a piece to the greater good. This land cuts bone deep because my ancestors whisper my name. That's all I ever wanted in life. Some type of normalcy and foundation. Luckily, Seattle has many Native communities that helped me stay connected to my roots. At school, I got bullied for being broke, but after school, I hung out with other broke natives. There were, and still are, a plethora of community gatherings, cultural events, and powwows where our teachings and traditions prevail. Our kinship is community-based, and we just make things work. That's why my people are still here today. Resiliency. There was a park downtown called Native Park by the locals. If you were Native, but too far removed from our culture, you could still find Native kinship there. And by kinship, I mean finding other natives to get into trouble with. I'ma leave it at that. I myself started to become more attracted to modern concepts over my traditions. When I moved to Seattle, my two brothers were in middle school while I was in elementary school. By the time I reached middle school, they were basically on their way to high school. I was catching buses alone, walking streets alone, slowly being absorbed by modern society, while a small piece of me was being called back to my culture. It was well into the mid-90s, but still a ways away from my tribe being federally recognized in 1999. I was in limbo every day, observing the world around me. With the tech boom and music's prevalence, I accepted my circumstances. There was a deep sense of radical acceptance. I was a nobody with nothing, and it was whatever. Then my first time in 6th grade planted the biggest seed in my life. Yes, you heard that right, but that's neither here nor there. So, in first period, I had reading and language arts. One day, my teacher didn't have an assignment for us to do that day, which prompted her to give us a writing exercise. She said, "Just write a story." So I did. See, a part of me was resentful that I had to let go of my childhood so early. I wrote a story about a wheat field with the bluest sky and a treasure chest. It was tacky, but it fed a part of me that I thought was dead. My teacher was blown away by my writing. She said that for someone who doesn't do any work, my writing level was amazing. It felt good to feel like a somebody with something very specific, which was my writing. I began writing every day. I started to describe my emotions, which I didn't know would be considered poetry. Someone grabbed my writing and made fun of me in front of everyone during class. I still wanted to write poetry, but I didn't want to be bullied even more than I already was for being broke. Fortune has smiled on me in many ways, though. The period from 1995 to 1997 was a transformative era for hip-hop. Artists pushing the boundaries of lyrical and musical complexity. I just disguised my poetry as rap. I wasn't publicly ridiculed. I was only told that my shit was whack and left alone. I found a way to feel alive. I wrote about the world I was seeing. I wrote about the feelings I was having. I am so thankful for the mainstream trends that the rest of the nation provided Seattle in the mid-90s. This was the embryonic stages of connectivity through the internet, and Seattle had a massive gain from that. Some of those benefiting companies had technology that found its way into my hands through various classes and after-school programs. That is why I am also thankful to see Seattle's economic growth and innovation subtly influence the routines of our daily lives without the average American knowing about it. It showed me the intricacies I might otherwise overlook. I'm thankful for my people having endurance. The hard work that Native organizations succeeded in gave me a sanctum to know that there is something more. You've always left avenues open, full of our teachings, readily available for me, while I tried so desperately to figure out who I am. Somehow, this has all become about identity. I am not thankful for the things that have happened to my people. We are still disregarded to this very day. If it could have happened any other way, I'm thankful that I've been constantly forced to question who it is I am. I'm a native from the boondocks thrown away in the city. And somehow, I am thankful that my very gift allows me to share that experience with you. In some messed up way, it all came together like pemmican. Sometimes that's how it goes for natives. There is no room for provisions. You throw everything you have together and call it a meal, hoping it'll get you through to tomorrow. I am a display of my people's strength. I don't love the feeling of not belonging, but I love that it's necessary for me to grow the deepest understanding of my journey. I love my people. I love my teachings. I love dances with wolves. And I love Geronimo. But Kurt Cobain will always be my West Studi.